He said, quote, "Rioting, looting, and burning is not the way. Organize, demonstrate, sit in, stand up, vote." Representative Lewis is exactly right. We all have a right to free speech.
Brofist, what's up?
We should protect that right vigorously.
What is up?
But we should also be united in condemning
Jeff,
political
throw away.
violence,
Brofist, what's up, everybody?
Terrorism, and to understand just what is happening.
Wow, a lot of news, a lot of stuff going on, guys. So what's going on? Where are we at?
Right now. It's helpful to see directly what's occurring, and there's a video that should display this now.
And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Brofist, what's up, everybody?
We will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. To stand up for freedom together. So let freedom reign.
A passionate movement for justice.
Brad, what's up? Brandon, what's up? Landon, Angelina, what's up, everybody? Willie, what's up?
A myth that's being spread only in Washington, D.C.
77-year-old David Dorn was shot to death as a pawn shop he was protecting was being looted.
Federal Protective Service Officer Dave Underwood was killed. Authorities say it was a targeted attack on law enforcement.
Mallory, what's up, everybody? Brofist.
This is ridiculous. These people are tearing up our livelihood.
Senator Hirano.
What's up, everybody?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nobody is condoning violence against anyone, by anyone.
So this is the Senate Judiciary Committee,
quote, "The right of the people peaceably
talking about how to stop rioting.
Protecting speech by stopping anarchist violence," end quote. But the hearing we should be having is one called "The right of the people peaceably to assemble without being beaten up by unidentifiable federal agents." That would address an actual problem lawful protesters are facing.
Don't worry, guys. We got plenty of other stuff we're looking into.
The murder
Huge
of George
explosion
Floyd has led to protests across the
in
country
Beirut,
and indeed around the world. In response, the federal government has used violence and excessive force to break up these protests. We saw this in two well-known examples, in Lafayette Square in D.C. and in Portland, Oregon. On June 1st, people were peacefully protesting around Lafayette Square.
Just some other stuff
by the
we're going to
White
be getting
House,
into, guys.
calling for an end to racial injustice and police brutality. Suddenly, federal agents
So what's up? What's going on, everybody?
General Barr
Tracy,
used
what's up,
chemical
Brofist?
gas, batons, rubber bullets, riot shields, and flashbang grenades to forcibly disperse the protesters and clear the area. Clearly, this was done so President Trump could get a photo op in front of St. John's Church.
Wow.
There was no anarchist violence in Lafayette Square.
Chilling,
in fact,
good to hear.
The only
Good to
ones
hear. Nick,
using
what's
force
up?
were federal law enforcement agents. Portland is another clear example.
Hey,
where
y'all, don't
federal
forget to like and
agents used
subscribe. Thank you so much,
excessive
Mallory.
and
Don't forget to like and subscribe,
indiscriminate
everybody. Thank you so much for
force
being
to break
here.
up people gathered to peacefully
We got a lot of stuff to
protest.
get into and
On
talk
July
about.
4th, unidentified federal agents arrived in Portland, outfitted as if for war, wearing camouflage and heavy gear. To justify this unnecessary deployment of federal officers, President Trump and his administration have repeatedly portrayed Portland protesters as violent anarchists and members of Antifa. But in the past 4 weeks, what we have actually seen are federal agents beating up on nonviolent protesters,
Wow.
tear gassing them,
Wow.
and shooting them.
We saw
with
this
rubber
night for
bullets
night,
after
guys.
so-called
They would incite the officers to come out. The officers would respond, and they'd take, photo op.
Protester in the
It was a
face
huge propaganda war.
with one of these less lethal munitions. And as you can see in the photo
My gosh.
here, Donovan LaBella suffered skull fractures. He was in ICU. He required surgery. We saw federal officers beat a 53-year-old Navy veteran.
We're going to get into that
approached them
soon.
To ask why they were
Thank
not
you,
honoring their oaths to the Constitution.
Angelia.
And when Christopher Davis refused to react, when federal agents beat him and broke his bones,
Black Lives Matter!
Sprayed him in the face.
Ow.
We saw federal officers tear gas moms, dads, and veterans who stood as a wall to protect peaceful young protesters. We also saw unidentified federal forces grab peaceful protesters off the street and force them into unmarked vans. One protester described having his hat pulled over his face so he could not see. I am not alone in my deep concern over the federal agents' use of force and violence against protesters in Portland. The Attorney General of Oregon has sued the federal government to stop federal agents from using the kind of, in quote, secret police tactics, where they take people off the street and force them into unmarked vans. State and local officials in Oregon have demanded that federal forces leave Portland because they have brought violence, not peace. And the inspectors general of the Department of Homeland Security and Department of Justice have decided that the federal officers' use of force against protesters in Portland were concerning enough to open an investigation. The Justice Department's Inspector General has also concluded that the federal officers' use of force against peaceful protesters near Lafayette Square was concerning enough to include in its investigation. Despite these facts, we are having a hearing on protecting peaceful protesters from anarchist violence. But what we've seen in Portland are peaceful protesters in need of protection from federal officers. Let's be clear, once again, no one is condoning any violence by law enforcement or by the protesters. But by focusing only on anarchist violence, this subcommittee is furthering President Trump's efforts to distract us from the underlying issues that millions of protesters have been calling on us to address: the systemic racial injustice in our country. President Trump is deliberately trying to undermine the massive protests for racial justice by dismissing them as anarchists and Antifa.
Yes, this is live,
To
guys. I
perpetuate
apologize.
This narrative,
You
President
know me.
Trump has
I get to work
ignored
on the
factual
background stuff
evidence
sometimes.
showing that
All right.
white supremacists have hijacked peaceful protests.
So
to
this is
incite
just the bull
violence
crap that's
and
being
stoke
spread, in my
racial
opinion.
conflict, such as in
I'm sorry.
Minneapolis. He has
She's
ignored
talking a whole lot
studies
of
showing that white supremacists
manipulation.
have killed at least
She is crazy. She must not have seen
329
nothing.
victims in the past 26
Nothing that
years,
we've seen.
while anti-fascists have killed no one in politically motivated attacks.
Oh my
And he has
gosh.
ignored what some have called the largest movement in American history: the millions of people who have marched peacefully in the streets following the murder of George Floyd, demanding change. If this subcommittee wants to protect Americans' right to peacefully assemble, we should be focused on preventing federal officers from beating up protesters, tear gassing them, and shooting them in the face. That's the hearing we should be having today. Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would like to show a video that highlights the excessive use of force by federal agents in Portland. Thank you.
Oh boy, check this out. Oh boy.
Hundreds of videos reviewed by the
This is
Times
such an
show that
information
although
propaganda
protesters
war.
were antagonistic,
They didn't
officers
come out
often
of the damn
responded with
courthouse
disproportionate
unless they had been provoked out. We saw that
They blanketed
with
streets tear
fires
gas.
and, fireworks and explosions being thrown at them.
They struck protesters with batons and used flashbangs, pepper balls, and other less lethal munitions to clear the streets. Their actions often appeared to escalate rather than de-escalate matters, and in some instances they attacked when there was no apparent threat. On July 11th, protester Donovan LaBella was at the federal courthouse when an officer appears to have fired at his head in retaliation for tossing a spent tear gas canister. Labella's mother told local media he suffered skull fractures and needed surgery.
I don't know, man. What's up, man?
Later that night, when field medics sought officers' help for a wounded protester, they were aggressively cleared away. On July 18th, a Navy veteran was batoned and pepper sprayed in another unprovoked attack.
They got crazy in Portland again.
His right hand was broken and he needs surgery. Sometimes members of the press were hit.
He got shot in the back, obviously, and he's wearing press.
This photographer, Matthew Lewis Rowland, told the Times that a volley of 10 projectiles were fired into his back.
Who's America? What's up? What's up? Walter, what's up?
In the middle of all this,
Brofist, everybody, good to see you.
in ways that alarmed civil rights advocates and former Homeland Security officials.
Can your people identify themselves as law enforcement?
Man, there's so much to get into,
Several
news-wise.
officers were filmed driving in unmarked vehicles in the blocks around the courthouse.
How are we supposed to know who you are? How are we supposed to know you're not kidnapping us and you're civilians kidnapping us?
You don't know,
One protester was
I guess.
detained at this location nearby.
What are you doing?
Federal officers wouldn't identify themselves,
Use your words.
but patches on the right and left sides of their uniforms match those used by members of BORTAC, the tactical unit from Customs and Border Protection. They drove the protester away in an unmarked car. DHS says federal officers have made 43 arrests since July 4th.
Mainstream manipulation.
Thank you, Senator Hirono. I will note at the end of that video that is narrated, it says, describes law enforcement officers as unidentified, while the video shows them with the words police in bright yellow all caps across their chest. So that is a curious way to describe a law enforcement officer as unidentified. I would also note that the ranking member said nobody is condoning the violence and rioting, and yet nowhere in the opening remarks was even one word condemning it, condemning the assaults, condemning the 277 injuries that federal law enforcement officers have suffered at the hands of those rioters. Not a word. Not a word was said about the murder
Good question.
of federal law enforcement officer Patrick Underwood. Not a word was said about the murder of retired St. Louis police officer David Dorn, both of whom are African American, and both of whom were murdered. And we're told we don't condone this. We simply won't say a negative word about this terrorism.
Look the other way. Yeah.
The senators from Oregon have both asked to come before this committee, and given what's transpiring in Portland, that seems appropriate courtesy to extend them. So we will now recognize both senators from Oregon, Senator Wyden and Senator Merkley, both of whom have asked to address the subcommittee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, we can.
Mr. Chairman, time is short, so I will get right to the question of protecting
Swin G, what's up?
free
What's up,
speech.
Swin G?
First,
Brofist.
as a senator from Oregon and a Portlander, I want to begin by asking this afternoon who Americans believe is the real threat to our constitutional rights. Is it the Oregonians who gathered in my hometown in overwhelmingly peaceful protests for
What's
racial
up, John?
justice since the murder of George Floyd? Or is it the heavily armed secret police
Secret
who
police.
snatched Portlanders
Oh
off
my
the
gosh.
street into unmarked vans and interrogated them without justification or charges? Is it the wall of moms, the courageous women like my friend Sharon Myron, an emergency room physician and a county commissioner who put
Born, what's up, my
themselves in
brother? Good to see you.
harm's way
Brofist.
to protect their neighbors? Or is it the unidentifiable federal paramilitary forces who, without provocation, batoned and tear gassed those moms and their fellow protesters?
James, knuckle love, brother, knuckle
Is it
love.
the peacefully gathered Portlanders who raised their hands in the air and sang the words, "Hands up, please don't shoot," to the tune of a lullaby? Or is it a duplicitous president who called Oregonians professional anarchists, professional agitators, people who hate our country, and called my hometown a beehive of terrorists?
Yeah.
This argument that Americans exercising their right to peaceful protest are anarchists, terrorists, and agitators is bad faith nonsense. Violent conflict in Portland was down before Donald Trump got involved. Portlanders are standing up for justice. I've seen Black Lives Matter activists in Portland and other cities trying mightily to prevent acts of vandalism because, as they point out eloquently, it certainly distracts from their calls for justice and equality. Mr. Chairman, the Associated Press did an analysis of 200 Portland arrests, and they found that most who were charged for nonviolent acts did not fit the depiction of an anarchist. They did their analysis, Mr. Chairman, on the basis of public records, court documents. I would ask unanimous consent that we could put the Associated Press analysis into the record.
Without objection.
So, Mr. Chairman, why make these baseless conspiratorial accusations and send in secret police?
Baseless
Donald Trump
conspiratorial.
sent in the secret police to create images of chaos for political gain, to air and campaign ads.
So they
and provide a
accuse
basis
of
for
exactly
bad
what they're
faith-
doing. Meg,
bad
what's
faith
up?
Discussions. Fortunately, in the days since federal forces backed off, the chaos has
No kidding,
largely
Indigo.
stopped in Portland. But the president is still getting the scenes of violence for the ads that he wanted, and he threatens further escalation in Portland and elsewhere. Now, this nonsense about leftist anarchy also papers over the murders and vandalism committed by far-right domestic terrorists. Those murders have been on the rise. Far-right criminals have been caught committing acts of vandalism at the scenes of Black Lives Matter protests.
Absolutely right, Rambo.
This baseless talk about leftist anarchy also erases the work done by all those who stood up in peaceful protest to declare that Black Lives Matter.
Wow,
In the
does
wake
he?
of the murder of George Floyd, millions and millions of Americans, all ages, all ethnicities, all backgrounds, participated in protests calling for an end to inequality and violence against Black Americans. All of this talk about leftist anarchy is just a big deflection from the nationwide call for justice.
Wow,
So I
bull
can
crap,
just say in
man.
closing, Mr. Chairman, that Portlanders did not feel protected by Donald Trump's secret police forces. I agree there's a serious danger to Americans' constitutional rights at this unique moment in history. And it's caused to a great extent by the president and his enablers who are calling peaceful protesters anarchists and terrorists and sending paramilitary forces into America's cities. And Mr. Chairman, I think perhaps Senator Merkley is ready now as well.
Thank you, Senator Wyden. Senator Merkley.
Chairman Cruz and Ranking Member Hirono, thank you for convening this hearing on the critical need to protect peaceful assembly in America. We've heard conflicting stories about Portland, scenes taken from early on after George Floyd was murdered, protesters in a very angry state, and there was some substantial
These are
destruction.
some images
But
from
weeks
the
later,
explosion
that had disappeared
in Beirut,
down to a small number
the Beirut
of late-night,
attack earlier.
folks.
We'll get to this in a little bit.
And that's when this conversation starts and makes the transition to what the federal forces have done. Here's what the scene looked like in Portland when the federal troops were arriving. Thousands of people peacefully protesting. Can we move that into the picture?
Sorry, I switched back.
Holding flowers, dancing,
We're going to talk about Beirut in a little bit.
chanting, arguing that we need to have a reform in America so that there is equal public safety for all, equal justice for all. A wall of moms would form to protect the peaceful protesters from the federal forces behind them. Then at about 11 p.m., the federal forces would storm out of the federal building and attack the peaceful demonstration. These forces, wearing camouflage, were armed with military-grade tear gas, flashbang grenades, impact munitions, pepper spray, batons, and they used them all. Picture this. 3 officers attack a 53-year-old Navy veteran, Chris David. 2 hit him with batons, while a third pepper sprays his face while he stands with his hands at his side. He just wanted to talk to Trump's officers about why they were arresting protesters without probable cause. Or picture this. A young man named Donovan Labella stands facing the troops holding a radio over his head. An officer standing across the street shoots him in the center of his forehead, sending him to the hospital in critical condition with a fractured skull. Picture this. Thousands of ordinary Portlanders from every corner of the city, every walk of life, are assaulted.
This is such a
disturbing
farce.
number of them end up in the hospital
This
with
is
serious injuries from
unbelievable
the federal troops,
what's going
and
on
thousands
right
are
now.
dealing with the after effects of military-grade tear gas.
Warring factions.
After attacking
Clearly, the
crowd,
left
Trump's
is
forces
out
swept through
to
the streets,
get
grabbed
the right.
protesters, threw them into
Clearly.
unmarked vans with no specific
And they try to
charge or
turn it
probable
around like it's
cause.
us after them, and we're not
The
doing
forces
anything.
have no
That's
agency
insane, man.
marking.
Unbelievable.
If they do, it's hidden. They have no unique identifier, so there's no way to hold anyone accountable for outrageous acts against peaceful protesters. These features, officers with no identity attacking protesters, sweeping some into unmarked vans, are the features of secret police tactics from around the world. I never thought an American president would bring such tactics to the streets of America, but Trump has. So we should pass a No Secret Police in America Act to end it, if we want to protect peaceful assembly in the United States of America. These tactics, Mr. Chairman, were not about arresting
Socialist
anarchists.
revolution.
Chris David, Donovan Labella, thousands of peaceful protesters were not anarchists. They are citizens who love their Constitution and believe that in our We the People Republic, we have a responsibility to call for justice. And call they have, day after
What
day,
manipulators.
week after week.
Manipulators,
These Americans
man.
inspire me, and they should
What
inspire
manipulation.
you. Have there been incidents of violence and destruction by a few? Yes. And I don't condone vandalism, and I condemn anyone threatening harm to anyone else.
Welcome to the spin
Trump's
zone,
forces
man.
did not arrest violent few. They attacked the peaceful many. There is a world of difference in that. I encourage you to listen to firsthand witnesses to the violent tactics of Trump's forces. I read a lot of them on the floor, but here's another one. Ellen Urbani, a former Peace Corps volunteer, observes, "So I'm standing there the whole time."
All right, I really can't take any more of this for right now. We're just gonna mute this. We'll press play, get it live. All right, we're gonna mute this for now. See, I'm torn. Let's start this video over, okay? So you make up your mind. Apparently, I'm hearing some people are saying that this was a firework plant or something like that. It was told to me as an attack. Okay. I was told this was an attack. And guys, smash that like button and share this out if you can. This is in Beirut, Lebanon. These are images or, video feeds, multiple angles. This video in particular is from Southern Patriot on YouTube.
Some say gas explosion. Some say fireworks.
No way would I believe that this was a firework or a gas explosion. There's just no way. This is definitely next level. I don't know if this was some form of explosive on the ground or if there was some weapon that was used, but I don't think I could ever believe any mainstream story saying that this was fireworks or a gas explosion. That's just absolutely absurd to see this, what you're about to see. This is a weapon of some form. This is just there's no way that's fireworks. No way. I would never believe that was fireworks. So, all right, let's see here. So we did have live coverage into Beirut. That's about all I know is that I'm going to contest. I disagree. I do not think that is fireworks. I think that is something else, and this video is unavailable now. Weird. How cool is that? How about that? We got it on the live. Cool. So we should still have it all recorded. Let's watch this one more time. just in case this disappears. Wow. There's just no way. I could never believe. We're just going to watch this one more time just to make sure we've got it recorded. Beirut, Lebanon. Now you can either believe the official story, which people are saying it's fireworks, or you can, you know, make up your own mind. This clearly looks to be an attack, and we are, some would say, on the verge of a, you know, World War III type situation. And yeah, this was no accident. I wouldn't believe this was an accident. This is what fireworks look like. Thanks, Jay.
We're back now with the latest on the deadly explosion at a fireworks market in Mexico. Local officials say dozens of people were killed and dozens more were injured.
So this is, in comparison, this is a firework explosion.
North of Mexico City. There were an estimated 2,000 people there shopping for Christmas and New Year's, which many Mexicans traditionally celebrate with fireworks and rockets. The massive explosions were caught on camera. Here is some of that footage.
So that's a firework explosion. Yeah, it's a touch different, I would say. Yeah, nowhere near the same. Nowhere near the same. So if their official story, let's just run that back. See, I see some fire and pops, but then there's this. See that? No way. No way. Nuh-uh. It's just. I'm still waiting for this one to go boom like that other one. That's why I'm not talking. I'm like, well, hold on now, because if this one goes like, you know, that big boom. Yeah, there's no boom. So it was an okay, so all right, let's just get a general consensus of the crowd here. Tap 1 if you think it was an attack. And tap 2 if you believe the official story that it's like a fireworks accident. Thank you so much for that, J-Tree. One. Wow. 1-1. Attack and test. Small nuke. 30 dead, 3,000 wounded. Oh, wow. 30 dead, 3,000 wounded. My gosh. And who exactly, if you had to guess, who would you think did that? So some people say no nuke. Wow. Well, that's not good. I don't like any of the names that came up. Crap. What you got now, J-Tree? This just happened in July. In China. China. Have we been in like a low-key conflict with multiple countries for many months now, and the coronavirus and these political, whoa, what brings everyone back together? War brings everyone back together. Smash that like button for me, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. What do you guys think? Are we on the verge of a global conflict? I don't know.
Go get Cincino car. Yeah. Hey, do y'all feel like y'all walked anywhere yet? You all right? You look tired. You sure? Where your hat? You ain't got no hat? We gotta buy you a hat. Go get your hat. Huh? I don't know. I think the one.
Have we been distracted? You don't think that the Little Saint James and Mr. Epp, you don't think that's a distraction, do you? That wouldn't be a giant false information scam, would? I mean, come on. No, I don't know. I don't know what to believe anymore, you know?
I already know.
All the theories. What's really real? Right. So at the end of the day,
know how to stop the angry faces.
we're moving out of the OWO and into the NWO.
Every time
right or wrong?
Mad, send $1 to the cash.
One for right, two for
They
wrong.
stopped doing the angry faces quick when we started doing that. Cause you can hear it go ching ching. When we started doing that, they literally stopped doing the angry faces fast. They'd be like, oh hell no.
So okay, so
See,
it
the
was
angry faces
a
go away
nitrate
already.
facility.
They don't like when I say that shit.
Okay.
When I say donate $1 for every angry face, they fucking stop giving angry faces. You see that shit?
So this is a transformation metamorphosis period from Cocoon, where everybody was asleep, to
like the whole white people, the whole white delegate say no.
World
We're not
War
trying to
III.
raise
Oh
money.
no.
trying to shut his Facebook down.
This is Frank Nitti, I believe, or something like that. Hold on. In Milwaukee. Yep, Frank Nitti live in Milwaukee.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I'm not sure what he's into or what he's doing today, but he's live, and it looks like some people are live with him.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it so.
All right, so I'm sure everyone's heard about the extortion with Black Lives Matter. Yeah, the world's gone crazy, man. It's all upside down, man. We're living in the upside down. Something happened. I'm not sure exactly when, but we entered this alternate reality where, normal's just gone, you know? All right, so this is a story that I thought was crazy, okay, where Black Lives Matter march had been stopped in a neighborhood by armed people in the neighborhood. This might be a slideshow, but you'll never believe this. You'll never believe this. Look who the news talks to.
Weren't for the intervention of her neighbors, they would have trespassed and caused damage. Well, I spoke to some of the protesters there that night, and they say there's another side to this story.
We literally wanted to go exercise our First Amendment right and ask the chief of police some questions.
That's what members of the Seattle group Everyday March said they wanted to do Saturday evening when they went to Chief Carmen Besno.
The chief of police some.
Look who it is. It's TK and the Seattle BLM organizers. Check it out. TK on the news. Wouldn't you believe it?
That's what
Listen,
members of the Seattle group
they were just being peaceful.
Everyday March said they wanted to do Saturday evening when they went to Chief Carmen Best's Snohomish neighborhood.
Some of our protesters then exited cars to go see what's going on up there, and at which point they were met with neighbors who had rifles in their faces.
Out of here. There's a private drive. Get out of the road.
They never got to the chief because they said neighbors intervened, blocking the road, and showed them weapons.
We tried to educate them and tell them it wasn't okay.
They tried to explain what they were doing there, but the people on the road refused to move. They left when they no longer felt safe.
We are from Seattle. We represent part of Seattle. So if you want to stick up for the people in that neighborhood, then go work for that county or whatever the case may be. Give up your position.
So this is TK, and these are some of the Black Lives Matter organizers from Seattle. You know, from Chaz, Chop, all that. They weren't very present. You didn't see them a lot until after it had dissolved. But, yeah, that's who these people are. And this is TK. I don't know the names on the others, but I remember TK from the marches and after Chaz Chop had dissolved.
As chief of police of Seattle and go work there since you're sticking up for them.
In a letter asking for city council to denounce the protesters' behavior, Chief Beth said these protesters were being aggressive and lauded her neighbors for deterring crime. Snohomish County Sheriff Adam Fortney agreed with Beth, calling the demonstrations at officials' homes a bullying tactic.
You guys are coming out your house with AR-15s to confront a bunch of people in clothing, cotton, no protection, no nothing. So if that's, I guess, whatever, bullying, I would not say that. Holding you accountable is more like it.
The group says they want understanding of what they're trying to accomplish, not to destroy, but to spark conversations.
We are not trying to just talk out and yell. We are truly here to have a conversation because the things happening in Seattle right now cannot keep happening.
They say they will continue to protest.
It's all fake, man. Listen to what they're saying. They don't want to have a conversation. I have seen them in the neighborhoods when Black Lives Matter goes into the neighborhoods. Okay, they more increasingly become aggressive. Okay.
And yell. We are truly here to have a conversation because the things happening in Seattle right now cannot keep happening.
What is happening in Seattle that can't keep happening? Seriously.
Council to denounce the activity, and they're not doing it. It is a hot button issue. Are protesters going too far, or have their voices been silenced for too long? Good afternoon. Thanks for being here. I'm Mark Wright.
I'm Joyce Taylor. Good evening. Well, city leaders want their personal lives separated from their professional ones, and they're looking for some peace and quiet. King 5's Chris Daniels joining us live outside Seattle City Hall with some context tonight about what's going on. Chris, good evening.
Hi, Joyce. Hi, Mark. Good evening to you. You know, protests, as you know, have occurred outside the homes of public leaders, public officials, public figures in Seattle now for years, but we have not seen the size, repetition, and vandalism that we have seen in the last few days. The council members were in all-day meetings today. A couple of them did address these protests, and they also did not discourage them. Vandalism, graffiti have marked the mayor's home and multiple city council members in recent weeks. On Saturday night in rural Snohomish County, a large group showed up at Police Chief Carmen Best's residence.
We don't have guns. You're the ones with guns.
And received a less than warm welcome from the neighbors.
We have a right to walk there.
Today, Best urged the council to stand up for what's right before this devolves into the new way of doing business by mob rule here in Seattle and across the nation. Elected officials like you must forcefully call for the end of these tactics, with Snohomish County Sheriff adding it is a bullying tactic that will certainly require an extra patrol response.
I take exception to the response by our police chief, who celebrated that her neighbors met these young people with guns.
Seattle Councilmember Tammy Morales was the only elected official to address Best today.
Oh, please, man.
Her colleague, Dan Strauss, who has met with the loosely formed group, also did not condemn the visit to the chief, nor the mayor, nor other colleagues, with the exception of Deborah Juarez, who received a visit the day after local tribes denounced the continued activity at her home.
Not okay for Seattleites to terrorize an elected Native American at her home. If the listening public doesn't understand what this means, or the thousands of layers contributing to my remarks, we have a bigger problem. And that's all I have to say.
Of course, all of this is centered around the continued discussion about defunding the police department and cutting back that police department budget. Those discussions continued today via a virtual council meeting, and there could be a committee vote on it.
If that's not
later this week.
LARPing, man.
That's the story for now. Live in Seattle at Seattle City Hall. I'm Chris Daniels, King 5 News.
I don't know, guys. I don't know. So, protesters were stopped. The protesters were stopped in a neighborhood outside the chief's home. You know, I think it was just one dude with an AR and his wife, or like a couple of neighbors. And just the fear of the gun alone. Mostly peaceful. I wouldn't guess so, you know. I wouldn't guess there were. Come out of her, my people. Get up out of them cities, guys. If you can, do the best you can. All right, so we have leaked video shows first moments of George Floyd's fatal arrest by Minneapolis officers. And I want to show, like, the top comment was, like, dude, I think we've been lied to. Like, everyone was lied to about this.
I see your hands. Damn, man. Stay in the car. Let me see your other hand. I'm sorry. Let me see your other hand. Both hands. Put your hands up right now. Let me see your other hand. Put your hand up there. Put your hand up there.
Mainstream manipulation. It's all manipulation, man.
Vault is in the car. Put your foot back in.
God dang, man. Man, I got shot the same way as I was before.
Okay, well, when I say let me see your hands, you put your hands up. You got them?
Dang, man.
Put your hands on top of your head.
Last time I got shot like that,
Hands on top of your head. Hands on top of your head. Step out of the vehicle and step away from me, all right? Step out and face away. Step out and face away.
Please don't shoot me. Please, man.
I'm not going to shoot you. Step out and face away.
I'm going to get out of here, man. Please don't shoot me, man. Please, man. I just lost my mom, man.
Step out and face away. Step out and face away.
Please don't shoot me, Mr. Officer. Please. Don't shoot me, man.
Step out and face away.
You're not shoot me, man?
I'm not shooting you. Step out and face away.
Okay. Please, man. Please. I didn't know, man.
Get out of the car.
I didn't know, Mr. Officer. I didn't know.
Right now.
Stop moving. Put your hand behind your back then. I'm not going to do nothing. Face the door.
Get his other home.
Hey, you come back. Stay in the car.
You know what? I think that this video is going to prove, because he even asks to be held down on the ground multiple times. He says, like, hold me down, hold me down. We'll see in a second, but I think that the officer very well may get off, and that is going to blow the situation's top. Chris, what's up, my man? Brofist.
I just came to buy the tablet, and when I bought the tablet, it didn't work. My God. He didn't even do nothing.
You have ID?
No, I don't. My name's Shawan Hill. No. Sir. I just came over to get my phone to see I don't have a purse or nothing. And my daughter is on her way to get me.
What's the deal?
I don't know. That's my ex. I don't know.
Why Why is he getting all squirrely and not showing us his hands and just being all weird like that?
Because he's been shopping, so he don't
Well, I
wanna-
get that, but still, when officers say get out of the car, is he drunk? Is he on something?
Oh, he got a thing going on. I'm telling you about
Chris, what's up, my man? Bro fist.
We have problems all the time when they come, especially when that man took that gun like that. It's been one.
What's your first name?
He's pretty good. George Floyd.
What is it?
He's a good guy. George Floyd, she said. Oh, ouchie,
What,
man.
are you on something right now?
I'm not, no, nothing. Because you acting erratic.
Let's go.
Yeah, man.
Let's go.
Yeah, man. Yes. Yes, I was just moving earlier.
Let's go.
Man, but all right, let me come on down now. It's a little better now.
Keep walking.
Okay, stop. Do me one favor, man.
No, when we get to the car, let's get to the car, man. Come on.
Hey, man. Oh, man.
All right.
God, don't leave me, man. Please, man, leave me, man.
Here. I want to watch that car too, so get him in.
Stand up, stop falling down. Stay on your feet and face the car door.
You get a seat on him?
No. Please, get out the door, man. I don't want to talk to you, man. Please, let me talk to you, please. Man, you ain't listening to nothing we're saying, so we're not going to listen to nothing you're saying.
Can you watch that car? Just make sure no one goes in it.
I hear you, but you are going to face the door right now.
Listen up. Stop.
I'll do anything. I'll do anything y'all tell me to do, man. I'm not a resistor, man. I'm not. You can ask him. He know me here, though.
Step that side.
God, man, I'm going to do nothing like that, y'all. Why is it going on like this? Look at my wrist, Mr. Officer. I'm not that kind of guy.
The other side.
Mr. Officer, I'm not that kind of guy.
Stop.
Please. I'm not that kind of guy, Mr. Officer. Please.
Space away.
Please, man. Don't leave me by myself, man. Please. I'm just claustrophobic. That's it.
So he says he's claustrophobic.
Anything sharp on you? I won't do nothing to hurt y'all, Mr. Officer. No, sir. Nothing. Why y'all doing me like that, Mr. Officer? Please, crack it for me and stuff, man. I am claustrophobic for real, Mr. Officer.
You got him?
Could you please crack it for me, please?
Yes, I'll
For my
crack
name.
it.
Stay with me, man.
I will.
Please stay with me, man. Thank you. God, man. I didn't know I was going to do that, man. Please, man. I didn't know my hands, please. I don't want none of y'all, man. Nothing.
You got it?
Inside in your pocket real quick on your shirt. I'm listening. And I understand that people do stuff.
All right, he's good. That's guns, whatever. There's nothing worth it.
Okay.
Grab a seat.
Okay.
I'll roll the windows down, okay?
Please, man. Please don't take a seat. I'm going in, Mr. Officer. I'm going to go in. No, you're not. I got to go in. Take a seat.
Grab a seat, man.
Mind, I don't believe me, Mr. Officer. Take a seat. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not that kind of guy, man. Take a seat. Y'all, I'm going to die here. Take a seat. I'm going to die, man. You need to take a seat right now. And I just had COVID, man. I don't want to go back to that.
Okay, I'll roll the windows
No.
down. Hey, listen.
Dang, man.
Listen.
I'm not that kind of guy.
I'll roll the windows down and
Please,
you put your
man.
legs in, all right? I'll
Y'all
put the air on.
stop. Look at that. Look at that.
Not even listening.
Look at it.
We can fix it, but not while you're standing out here.
Okay, man. God, y'all do me bad, man. Man, I don't want to try to win. I don't want to try to win. I don't want to win. I'm claustrophobic. I'm claustrophobic. I got anxiety. I don't want to do nothing to them.
I'll roll the window down.
Man, I'm scared. When I start breathing, it's going to go off on me, man.
Pull your legs in.
Okay. Let me count to three. And I'm going in. Please. I'm not trying to win. I'll get on the ground, anything. I can't stand this, man. He know it.
Get in this car with your talk.
I'm claustrophobic.
I'm hearing you, but you're not working with me.
God, I'm claustrophobic, man.
Slide your butt over here. I'm going to pull you in.
Get in the car.
In the front?
No, you're not getting in the
I'm
car.
claustrophobic, so I was
Get in the car.
Okay, man, okay. I'm not a bad guy, man.
Get in the car.
I'm not a bad guy. Man. Please, please.
Take a seat.
Please, man. Please. No.
Take a seat.
I can't choke. I can't breathe, officer. Please.
Fine.
All right, so now he seems to be. Oh gosh. Okay, so he kicks himself out of the car.
Get in the squad.
It is.
I know I can't breathe. Man. I can't breathe.
right, so that's from dailymail.com. So, hold on, let's back that up. What happened here? All right, so did he say just let me lay on the ground?
Okay. Win. You get in this car, we can talk. I'm claustrophobic. I'm hearing you, but you're not working with me. God, I'm claustrophobic, man. Get in the car. Over here, I'm gonna pull you in. Get in the car. In the front. No, you're not getting in the front. I'm claustrophobic, so I was in the car. Okay, man, okay. I'm not a bad guy, man. Get in the car. I'm not a bad guy. Man. Please, take a seat. Please, man. Please. No, take a seat. I can't choke. I can't breathe. Please. Fine. My wrist, man. My wrist, man, please. I can't take this, man. I'm on the ground.
I want on the ground. Lay me on the ground.
I can't choke. I can't breathe. Please. Fine. My wrist, man. My wrist, man, please. I can't take this, man. I'm on the ground. I'm on the ground. I'm going down. I'm going down. I'm not breathing. Bro, you look down a heart attack. I know I can't breathe.
Okay.
I can't breathe.
All right. So make of that what you will. They say newly leaked body cam video Monday showed a frightened George Floyd begging police not to lock him in the squad car shortly before he lost consciousness under a police officer's knee. The Daily Mail posted the leaked material on its site Monday. That's part of the case against Minneapolis police officers who have been criminally charged in connection to George Floyd's death, or to Floyd's death. While the source of the video was not immediately clear, the video matches some of what was shown to NBC's News as the courthouse during pre-trial hearings for the officers. Police were called to a convenience store. See, what are they going to try and spin this about the $20 bill? Officers pulled Floyd out of his car, handcuffed him over the $20 bill before marching him to a nearby police vehicle where he pleaded to not be put inside. I am claustrophobic for real. Floyd told them, I'm going to die in here. I'm going to die, man. I don't know, guys. I'm claustrophobic. I got anxiety, he pleaded. Let's see. Floyd would eventually end up face down on the pavement with Officer Derek Nee's necking for about 8 minutes. Bystander video showed. I can't breathe while Officer shoving. I don't know, guys. What does this mean for the case? Nothing?
Of night.
I would agree. I would not say that was George Floyd.
That's asinine as hell. You look silly as hell.
It looked like the
Black
video
Lives
was
Matter,
uploaded
bro.
November 17th. I got rid of the video already.
Oh, thank you so much.
To donate some water for
Appreciate you so much. You got some real stay. Let me get one of them Capri Suns though, from behind you. Thank you so much. Black Lives Matter. That lady just came up right there and blessed us. Said she donated to the Cashapp and she this day one. Y'all good?
Let's go see what the Senate Judiciary Committee is talking about over here.
Corrective action, but I think most Americans want to make sure that somebody who throws a brick or a frozen bottle of water or anything else at a police officer that they have their day in court too. So I want to put you both on notice that we're going to hold you accountable for prosecuting those who hurt our cops. Now, if we had done nothing, what would have happened to the courthouse, Mr. Cuccinelli, in Portland?
That courthouse wouldn't be there in any function.
So I challenge anybody on the other side to say different. If we hadn't intervened, they'd burn the goddamn thing down.
Whoa.
Seattle. Were you in Seattle? Were either one of you in Seattle when they took over part of the town? Did we send anybody in there to help?
We were not requested, and there was no federal...
Well, they worked it out in Seattle after they took over part of the town. Being upset with what happened to Mr. Floyd is absolutely all-American. Trying to occupy part of a city and turn it into a socialist enclave, not.
Good point.
So we got a lot going on in this country, and I don't want to blend them in.
Yeah.
Chicago. I don't know what's happening in Chicago, but this is not about Mr. Floyd. Young kids are getting killed just outside their house.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to do something about it. So my point is that this committee, and I appreciate this, Senator Cruz, is going to look at all of it. And all of it means what's going on in Chicago, and should the federal government help? How many kids have to die every weekend before enough is enough? As to the state police in Portland, I'm glad you're there. I hope it works out. But if you can't take care of it, we will. That's not being totalitarian. That's applying the law that exists in the United States today. It is a federal responsibility to protect federal property. You agree with that, Mr. Cuccinelli?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Cox, there are people out there who would kill you because of your race. Do you agree with that? White supremacist groups are alive and well in the United States.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Do you believe they're on the rise?
No.
I believe that they've existed for some time, and as you...
Well, I tell
and
you,
they've
Mr.
dwindled
Ray,
since their
Director Ray
existence.
said they're on the rise, and I believe that too. And I want you to bust their ass wherever you find them. We're not going to live in an America like this. So if you're a white supremacist, I hope you get a knock on your door soon. If you're engaging in violence, and I hope you go to jail.
Yeah.
So from my point of view, I don't want any American, black, white, anything in between, having to be afraid to live in their own country.
Daddy Graham coming
let
in.
their kids go outside and play at night and can't go downtown to one of the major cities. So to both of you, thank you for your service. Pass on to those under your charge that we appreciate them, that at least I don't consider them Gestapo, but let them know if they get out of line, they'll be dealt with. That's what the rule is all about. Thank you for having this hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Durbin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Uh-oh.
Neither violence or vandalism are acceptable in the exercise of one's constitutional rights. Both peaceful demonstrators and law enforcement officers in the lawful exercise of their legal authority are entitled to do so without threat or harm. That's what I believe. For the record, I express my condolences for any law officer who loses his life or is seriously injured in the line of duty, and I regret any peaceful demonstrator who has been injured, traumatized, or killed as well in the lawful exercise of their constitutional rights. Patrick Underwood, I regret his passing and his death.
Thank you.
The chairman started this meeting by saying we're talking about the leftist. Patrick Underwood was not killed by a leftist. He was killed by a member of an organization known as Boogaloo, a right-wing extremist organization. At least a gentleman, I shouldn't call him a
They're
gentleman,
not
a person named
right-wing.
Carrillo has been charged with that crime at this time.
Oh my gosh.
It ain't just leftist. They're extremists who are engaged in many places. Tomorrow is the anniversary, Mr. Chairman, the one-year anniversary of the mass shooting at the Walmart in El Paso, Texas. A 21-year-old white supremacist, and I won't repeat his name, with anti-immigrant views killed 23 people and injured 23 others. It is the worst racial extremism in American history against Hispanic Americans. An unclassified May 2017 FBI-DHS Joint Intelligence Bulletin found that, quote, white supremacist extremism poses a persistent threat of lethal violence. White supremacists were responsible for more homicides from 2000
need
to
to
2016
educate
than
yourself.
any other domestic extremist group, right or left, white supremacists. FBI Director Wray told me last year in the hearing that the majority of domestic terrorism arrests involved white supremacists.
Oh, gosh.
And yet the Trump administration has made the inexplicable and I consider irresponsible decision to stop tracking white supremacist incidents as a separate category of domestic terrorism. Since May 2019, I've sent 3 letters to the Attorney General and FBI Director asking why DOJ and the FBI are doing this at a time when we should be combating the growth of white supremacist violence that targets religious minorities and communities of color. Today's hearing only reinforces my concern that the FBI and DOJ are not taking adequate measures to combat white supremacist violence and minimizing the growing domestic terrorism threat. Instead of focusing on the real and significant violent threat of domestic terrorism motivated by white supremacy and far right-wing extremism, terrorists who have killed Americans, the Trump administration has repeatedly tried to vilify protesters and conflate social justice movements with anti-government extremism. Ms. Cox, you're very explicit. In fact, you say it twice within a matter of 4 sentences. In your statement, you say, our proactive focus on violent extremists is not on membership in particular groups or adherence to particular ideologies or belief, but on criminal activity and violence. You say that twice. Do you agree that violent white supremacists currently pose our most significant domestic terrorism threat?
No.
I would definitely agree with Senator that we have a number of investigations that involve white supremacist group. In fact, before the civil unrest, the majority of the domestic terrorist investigations were white supremacy involved.
And as part of the Department of Justice, can you explain why your department has stopped tracking white supremacist incidents as a separate category of domestic terrorism?
I do not know anything about that, Senator.
Well, I hope you'll look into it. The Department of Homeland Security has recognized the particular threat by violent domestic extremists who target racial and religious minorities. In a September 2019 strategic framework report on violence, while President Trump was the president,
it's the greatest show on earth, ladies and gentlemen.
Extremism, one type of racially and ethnically motivated violent extremism, is one of the most potent forces
playing
driving
with the hearts and the minds.
Mr. Cuccinelli, do you agree that white supremacist violent extremism is one of the most
manipulation
potent
left and
forces
right
driving domestic terrorism?
I do, and that's why the Department of Homeland Security has
taking
upped its
truths
effort in
and
that
spinning
area.
them around.
It's not correct to say we have ignored it.
Well, we've seen what you've done in Portland. What have you done about white supremacists?
Well, you cite one element of an increasing track of analysis and communication with local partners, which is DHS has the primary responsibility for, and communicating the information to state and local authorities that we get sometimes from others. And we've increased that effort, not reduced that effort.
Mr. Cuccinelli, good.
Exactly.
That is what we expected, the ordinary and customary relationship between the federal government and state and local law enforcement. It is not what happened in Portland. May I be allowed to ask one last question? Mr. Cox, can you confirm that Ms. Cox, can you confirm that any DHS personnel assigned to support Operation Legend will be under the operational control of the Department of Justice and report directly to DOJ officials?
Senator, my understanding of Operation Legend is that there are DOJ law enforcement that are being sent to help reduce violent crime in certain cities. Chicago is one of them. And that if we're working with DHS, they'll be collaborating with us. They'll be our partner in that effort.
There is a genuine concern because of statements made by this president about some wide-ranging immigration enforcement as part of this. Are you aware of any plans to use these DHS officials that have been assigned to Operation Legend for immigration enforcement?
I am not, Senator. In fact, I am aware that that entire operation and initiative is meant to reduce violent crime in cities across the U.S.
So Department of Justice law enforcement agents have been sent to areas to reduce crime. You can go ahead and bet Portland, Chicago, Kentucky, Louisville.
If the chairman will allow.
Sure. Go ahead and respond to that, Mr. Cuccinelli.
So HSI agents, Homeland Security investigators who have extraordinary international gang experience are among the cooperating agents in Operation Legend, including in Chicago, where they have participated in making a number of arrests. And that's true in other cities as well, but that's the engagement. It is not to perform immigration functions except insofar as they've gathered experience, because as you know, Senator, gangs like MS-13, Latin Kings, and so forth span our national borders, which brings HSI's expertise into the picture. That is their role in Operation Legend, and we're very pleased to be working alongside our DOJ partners to try to help make your city safer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Durbin.
Amy, what's
Senator
up?
Durbin
Broke
referenced
this.
El Paso and the horrific mass murder there. I was in El Paso in the aftermath of that. That virulent racist targeted Hispanic Americans. I am an Hispanic American. I consoled the families of victims who were murdered by that bigoted racist. And I will say one of the odd things,
absolutely,
our Democratic
Rhonda.
colleagues repeatedly refer to what they call right-wing extremists, and they cite the Boogaloo Boys, or they cite white supremacists, or they haven't cited, but they could certainly cite the Klan. What I will say unequivocally is what Senator Graham said. Those guys are evil, bigoted, violent monsters. They should be prosecuted and thrown in jail. I unequivocally condemn anyone who engages on violence, whether on the right or left. And sadly, what's missing is too many in the Democratic Party refuse to condemn Antifa. They refuse to condemn. Senator Hirono said no one has been killed from that side of the aisle. I'll tell you, I was also in Dallas in 2016 when 5 police officers were murdered by a radical at a Black Lives Matter protest. And this shouldn't
That's
be a
absolutely
political
right.
game. Don't
All
kill
extremist
people.
groups
Don't set police
should be
cars
handled
on
equally.
fire. Mr. Cuccinelli, those who are engaged in rioting in Portland right now, the 277 officer injuries that have occurred, who's doing it?
Well, as I said, rioters are not protesters, protesters are not rioters. It is the violent among them who often hide behind the peaceful and use them for a form of protection while using slingshots, using lasers. We've had more eye injuries, and I brought one with
I agree,
me. This
Vincent.
is commercially available laser that you see, and you're seeing them used now in Portland to a degree that we have never seen before. Now, if I hold my hand in front of that laser, it's hot by that point in time. This is just a pointer you buy off Amazon. And we're seeing more different kinds of weapons. We're seeing some of the old-fashioned, a rock, oldest weapon known to man, along with new items like this that we've never seen used in such an organized fashion against our officers, their eyes. And as I said, we've had more eye injuries than I can ever remember in another incident. Of all of our injuries, eyes is number one.
How many is that?
113 out of 277. That hearing is next, and then needless to say, what we euphemistically call contact with an object, which is.
And I will say for our Democratic members,
agree.
earlier today,
Two-party
Mr.
system.
Cuccinelli actually showed me that commercial-grade
That's
laser.
the enemy.
And
That's one of the
I thought,
enemies.
like a lot of people, it's like a laser pointer that you might
A
see at
tool
home.
of division.
What's interesting is that what Mr. Cuccinelli just did, shining it at your hand, if you do that, which I did, within a second, you'll yank your hand back because it burns. And as I understand it, they're using, it's not a little pointer, it's a serious weapon that they're using potentially to cause permanent blindness in law enforcement officers. Is that right?
That's the attempt, and the closer you get, the tougher it is. I've asked for this. This is a shield. It's hard to see. It's a rough shield. What I want to draw your attention to is the hole in the shield. So a tactic that quickly developed among the violent participants in these activities was to cut those holes in the shields, and instead of standing back at the back of a crowd and aiming at the eyes of officers, they will also now bring the shield up close and bring it right up into you. And so the intensity of the strike to the eyes of the officer is much more significant. For those of you who are engineers like me, it's a square function. So if you're twice as far away, it's a quarter of the energy. and the opposite is true. And these are the kinds of tools they're using, combined with just regular item you buy on Amazon, to do permanent damage that we haven't seen on this kind of scale ever before. As I said, 49 years for the Federal Protective Service. They have never seen anything like Portland.
Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Cuccinelli, what happens when you take a laser and you point it into the eyes of a human being?
So the body has a about a 0.2 second look away reaction. And one of the challenges, there are several, but one of the challenges is if you're not looking at the person assaulting you with the laser, you can't figure out who's performing the assault. So
they do make laser goggles.
You're trying to shield your eye and still do your job. We've had
that's really just to help protect from
of
reflections from powerful lasers that would burn your eyes.
Days-long blindness. So far, they've all kind of come back, if you will. But you also get what's called flash blindness. Think of it as the old Kodak cameras where you get that blue spot and you can't quite see your entire field of vision for a period of time.
I assume that for that moment, in addition to any long-term damage or short-term damage that it might do, for the time being, it also makes it more dangerous for the officer.
Absolutely.
As the officer recoils, as
and
the officer steps away from the harm.
The way multiple people sometimes work together in the crowd, that is a clearly planned exercise.
And to be clear, a device like this one, which can be bought anywhere by anyone, doesn't run out of its supply, at least not in a single protest. They can shine that all night long if they want to.
All night long.
And it can still do its harm. It's one of the things that I find so intriguing about all this is how it is, even in 2020, as crazy as this year is, it seems doubly crazy to me that we're using terms like this. We're conflating terms, peaceful protest and anarchist violence, as if they were the same thing. Enforcing laws against one group of people but not another, or so we are told we should do, based on whether or not we agree with their ideological viewpoint. Now tell me about this picture right here.
So what you've got here is the most common laser that we've seen is the green, and you know the thing.
I'm a big believer that eBay is one of the greatest things to come from the internet.
Your eye, the human eye, sees the green part of the spectrum more brightly than say red, something like 10 times brighter. And so, and also all of this is happening at night. There's peaceful protesting. This is sort of the Portland formula. There's peaceful protesting to 10 or 11 o'clock, and then they go away, and maybe some of them come back, but the group that comes back is A, much bigger, but also they come back for violence.
So when my mom told me nothing good happens after midnight, she wasn't messing around.
Your mother was right, especially about Portland. You also see gasoline in the upper right corner of this picture. We've had accelerants poured into the courthouse while commercial-grade mortar-style fireworks were being shot into the doors in an attempt to light it. Also while the side doors, the exits of the building were being blocked, were being barricaded closed. So that was going on as well. In the last picture you see here, it's a little dark to see. They're holding a fire hose that they've hooked up to the courthouse. Now these are our CBP officers because the rioters, not the peaceful protesters, would continuously set fires. They'd throw a ton of trash over a fence, light it on fire, and they would also throw what amounted to homemade hand grenades. There is a video of this picture. This is a snap out of that video where you see two of those explosives coming in. Fortunately, they both explode early, so they don't get so close that they impact these officers. But you can see rather obviously the potential for harm with many of these devices. And this gun here was pulled off of one of the arrested protesters.
While widely available, equipment like this is being used in a somewhat novel way here. I assume this is the kind of thing you don't ordinarily expect to arise spontaneously. In other words, people have given this some thought.
They've given it a great deal of thought, and frankly, there's been evolution of the negative tactics over the course of time. If you look back out of Minneapolis, go back to where George Floyd was killed by that police officer, and then the fight that ensued in the streets of Minneapolis beyond just protesting, many of those violent participants got together and wrote up their lessons learned. sort of an after-action report for criminals. And they've published this, and you see the same thing going on in other parts of the country. Like, we can send you that rather long and extensive, and if you weren't evil, you'd read the quality of the material and you'd say that this is a high-quality analysis. And that's on the other side. So that's what we're facing, and it's evolving all the time.
Does the federal government have what some would call general police powers?
No, absolutely not.
How does this differ from general police powers? I've been critical in many instances from federal law enforcement agencies stepping in and engaging in local police function. Tell me why I shouldn't have that concern here.
So all of the DHS officers are cross-designated as Federal Protective Service officers. They're all operating under the Federal Protective Service Authority to protect the courthouse. The marshals have the inside of the courthouse and protect it dutifully. FPS protects the outside. There's also 2 doors down, if you will, another federal building, and in between is the biggest local target of violence, the Multnomah Justice Center. So there's 3 buildings: courthouse, local Justice Center, federal building, and across the street from all 3 are parks, which have performed the function of staging areas for rioters, for criminals. And the powers being exercised by the federal authorities are to protect the federal facilities. That is it. Even when we go off those properties, which the statute from Congress says we can do, it is for the purpose of performing that function. So if someone assaults a law enforcement officer at the courthouse, we can go arrest that person anywhere in pursuit of that particular authority. But that doesn't mean we can police the streets of Portland and hand out tickets for speeding or doing other things. And that's for Portland and the state police to do.
But for these apparently orchestrated, violent, repeated attacks on federal courthouses and other federal personnel and facilities, would you have ever sent federal personnel into that zone?
Well, of course, the FPS officers are always there, but I assume you mean added more.
Yes.
Through June, FPS continued to add their own officers as the violence escalated. And if you look in May and June, we have a graphic compilation I can send to each of you that shows the number of days of attacks on federal facilities. And in May and June, that total was 12 for both months total. In July, as of July 29th, it was 29. So every single day. The escalation of the targeting of federal facilities led the commander on the scene of the Federal Protective Service to request supplemental Department of Homeland Security officers because they didn't have enough in the region and given their other duties any longer after they had already added their own. That's why pure circumstances on the ground.
Homeland Security is quietly tying Antifa to foreign powers. An intelligence report obtained exclusively by The Nation mentions several Americans, including a left-wing podcast host.
Disagree, but assaults on federal facilities happened 2 years ago, and the mayor of Portland publicly
Department of Homeland Security's intelligence officials. Hold on.
For that facility, and so.
Let's see. Are targeting activists. It considers Antifa and attempting to tie them to a foreign power, according to a Department of Homeland Security intelligence report obtained exclusively by The Nation, which is where we are. We're on that website. The intelligence report titled "The Syrian Conflict and its Nexus to the U.S.-based Anti-Fascist Movement" mentions several Americans, including a left-wing podcast host who traveled to Syria to fight ISIS. The report includes a readout of these individuals' personal information, including their social security numbers, home addresses, and social media accounts. Much of the data generated by the Department of Homeland Security's tactical terrorism response teams. As the intelligence report states, Antifa is being analyzed under the 2019 Department of Homeland Security Strategic Framework for Countering Terrorism and Targeted Violence. In this dated July 14th, the document marked for official use only and law enforcement sensitive draws on a blend of publicly available information and state and federal law enforcement intelligence. It was provided to the nation by a source who previously worked on DHS intelligence. So, while the law generally prohibits intelligence agencies from spying on U.S. residents, many of those protections do not apply if the individual is believed to be acting as an agent of a foreign power. Whoa, uh-oh. So this slips a little bit deeper, okay? We're starting to move into some deeper waters now. Designating someone as foreign sponsored can make a huge legal practical difference in the government's ability to pursue them. Oh, snap. Holy crap. All right. Explained Stephen Aftergood, who heads the project of government secrecy at the Federation of American Scientists. It's crucial distinction. Once someone or some group is identified as an agent of a foreign power, they are subject to warrantless search and surveillance in a way that would be illegal and unconstitutional for any other U.S. person. Holy crap. The whole apparatus of U.S. intelligence can be brought to bear on someone who is considered an agent of a foreign power. Last week, the DHS reassigned its intelligence chief after the Washington Post revealed that the agency had been compiling intelligence reports on American journalists and activists in Portland. In response to President Trump's executive order to protect monuments and other federal properties, the DHS created the Protecting American Communities Task Force, which sent Department of Homeland Security assets to Portland and other cities. The agency has found itself in transition under the Trump administration. They are always pursuing I&A. Anyway, guys, so if they're moving them to be associated with a foreign power, they are going to be a terrorist organization soon. So whether or not you considered yourself a group, you've just been labeled a group.
It's obviously under investigation, but I would not characterize.
What's under investigation?
That interaction.
What do you
that
guys
use of force.
think?
I mean, that's
Tyranny and I hate tyrants. Gathering intel on press is tyranny and I hate tyrants. I hear that.
Investigation.
Fake news.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
But
that is not true.
Any other investigation?
Well,
Trail never gets cold.
This is a US
How is this
Marshal,
not
so
true?
I don't have. I have not interviewed those folks.
I can't actually tell very well who is who from these films because they're all wearing similar garb, and it's often very hard to find
Here,
out
I'll drop that link.
without being very close who they report to or what the uniform is. So forgive me if I don't know the difference.
Let me know if you guys
Ms.
don't
Cox,
get that
could you
link.
explain how that is conduct? I mean, you'll concede that Mr. David's conduct, in that clip at least, was not that of a rioter and was not violent terrorist conduct.
Senator, I know that incident in particular is under investigation by the IG as well as an internal investigation with the U.S. Marshal Service.
Okay.
And I don't have any more facts about what was happening before or during that. Those facts will be developed in the investigation, and I don't want my comments to affect that at all.
Yeah. It's, it looks very much like a person who is standing very still and being as harmless as he can be, and who is alone, surrounded by officers, whose garb is a sweatshirt compared to tactical gear, who has no weapon compared to pepper spray, mace, whatever they have, as well as the batons, and who takes a pretty damned hard beating.
Wow.
All things considered. And I think it's episodes like that that cause legitimate concern, particularly in light of the all-important standard that we know as people who've spent time in law enforcement, members of law enforcement have to adhere to. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Whitehouse, and I recognize y'all are constrained in terms of commenting on an active investigation, but I'll ask a simple hypothetical. If the only facts were as Senator Whitehouse suggested, if an individual were standing in a sweatshirt, engaged in no violence, standing there doing nothing, and any federal officer walked up and hit him 3 times with a baton for no reason whatsoever, if that's what occurred, you would be quite comfortable saying that is an abuse of power to beat someone with a baton for no reason. And to be clear, that's very different from if before the clip in question the individual engaged in an act of violence. I mean, the context in these investigations always matter. But if the only facts are, as Senator Whitehouse said, that someone was standing there and beaten for no reason, you'd be comfortable saying that is not, federal law enforcement officers are not allowed to beat people for no reasons.
We train them exactly the opposite.
And I would agree, federal law enforcement officers are not allowed to beat people.
But that's why you have investigations, because you don't know if those are the only facts or if there is other conduct perhaps not captured on a snippet on the internet.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I may, look, I know, as I said earlier, a good half this committee or so have been former attorneys general, have served in one relationship or another with law enforcement, and so I understand there to be a great deal of respect for law enforcement. Nor I assume anyone on this committee expects them to be perfect, while at the same time holding them to the kind of higher standard that Senator Whitehouse just referenced. That is all true, all at the same time. And we have to continue to enforce the law while correcting whatever mistakes do arise without stopping the enforcement of the law. Stopping the enforcement of the law here would end us up without a courthouse in Portland.
Senator Blackburn by video.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here and for giving us the opportunity to have this hearing. I really appreciate it, and I know that our constituents, I hear from Tennesseans every single day about how very concerned they are. So let me just kind of follow on with where we are right now. Mr. Cuccinelli, let's talk about this. While your teams are out there stopping rioters, then how do they make that turn and protect peaceful protesters? Because they have to do each at the same time. So how do they work? How do they handle this? How do they try to segment the crowd so that people who are peaceful are protected and rioters who are there for the purpose of violence and injury and harm and destruction, so that they are properly dealt with?
So, Senator, that balance is so critical to their work. I appreciate the question, and it goes also to Senator Whitehouse's question, or two of them actually, that professional law enforcement officers encounter people in tense situations, and they're the ones we look to de-escalate. All of our officers are trained in de-escalation techniques. I would also note for you, just by way of one anecdote, in the middle of these in riots, so I believe it was marshals had detained an individual who had assaulted a law enforcement officer, and that person immediately had a seizure and was in immediate medical need. And nearby present were the CBP Borstar. BORTAC is their SWAT team, Borstar is their medical team, immediately moved in, and the BORTAC team cleared the crowd. They had to actually dynamically move the crowd away to be able to help the person who had just been assaulting their colleagues moments before, and they obviously did that in partnership with the marshals, and went through a series of attempts to treat this individual, had 180 heart rate, respiration was way up, and finally identified a drug to be administered to stop the seizure and save that person's life. Within seconds of that same person having been attacking their fellow law enforcement officers. So, yes, what Senator Whitehouse referred to happened, and that investigation will go through, and it should. But understand, you don't see reported all of the protective steps that your professional law enforcement officers take every day, not just, as you suggested, Senator Blackburn, to protect peaceful protesters, which they are absolutely seeking to do, but to actually care for the very people who are
I
harming
hope you've
them.
enjoyed this hour of political
And,
theater brought to you
that-
by Unspecified Podcast.
That
and
kind
Review.
of ability, that
I don't know.
nimbleness, that flexibility,
We're working on a website.
And strength.
What should we name the
is
website?
really a
I'm going to be doing a
hallmark,
poll. I don't know
by
where I'm going to be
large,
doing the poll.
99%
But
plus of our officers.
yeah, I don't
And
know.
while we have to fix the mistakes as they arise, we cannot sacrifice the rule of law to do that. And we do it in
Ba-boom.
tandem
I think we're in Austin,
with the
Texas
protection of
now.
First Amendment rights. That's a huge part of why
Austin.
the larger number of officers is needed, so that you can.
Let's go to Austin, guys. Oh my gosh, Steven Crowder's there.
2 years ago,
Freaking Steven Crowder. What? My mind is blown. This dude went to Austin. Oh my gosh. Sorry about the noise, everybody. Your ears are probably blown out. Freaking Steven Crowder is in Austin. We get to see it live. Yay. How about that? If this stupid motorcycle would go away. Oh, this stupid motorcycle. Oh my gosh, I hate it. Holy crap. We get to see Steven Crowder live.
Black voices! Stop silencing black voices! Stop silencing black voices! Thank you. It works! Sorry, I know the whole token isn't there, but I know, I do it all the time.
Yeah, well, they just tried to silence him. Now the radio guy is killing the audio.
You got nothing better to do.
Stupid protesters. I'm just kidding.
Same with this guy.
Why? Oh man, we're so close to Steven Crowder live.
Hey, I want to have a discussion. I want to hear the debate. You don't want to hear nothing because your argument is so fucking weak. Turn that shit down.
This is in Austin, Texas, you guys.
Last album was like a year and a half ago.
You said you wanted to hear what song?
Okay.
I want to hear what she has to say. Then get close. Hey.
All right, everybody.
Why you disturbing my
Smash that like button if you can. Share this out. Steven Crowder live in Austin.
Got a lot of chips. You're weak. You're weak.
This is no protest. Yes, this is. They're clearly protesting Crowder's presence. Let's do a vote. Are there people protesting Crowder's presence, yes or no?
If you even entertain the idea that Garrett was a domestic terrorist, boy, will not hear you out.
Just saying. Okay, just saying. It appears that there is a protest.
I'm the silent fucking majority. I'm done being silent. Motherfucker, get the fuck off of my street. This is my town. This is my fucking town.
If you wanted to listen, you should have listened for the past 2 months.
This is all you can do. You just want to size people.
Hey man, I agree with you.
This is live in Austin. Right now, on the ground.
Lean back, got a lot of chips. Got jet lag, cause I'm flyed in the bitch. Suck, lean back, got a lot of drip.
Oh my gosh.
Cause I'm flyed in the bitch. Suck, lean back, got a lot of chips. Got jet lag, cause I'm flyed.
That is terribly annoying. Terribly annoying. Terribly annoying.
simple. Hey, bro, honestly, I think part of the argument here is that these claims are so asinine that you can do a quick Google search and figure out that this is fucking ridiculous. That if the person...
Whoa, Garrett Foster's shooting was justified. Changed my mind. Whoa. Let's do a quick vote. Who thinks that Garrett Foster's shooting was justified? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Just a quick question for the crowd.
I'm not against you, I promise. I'm just asking you why you believe that. I understand why this man's doing it. I'm not doing it. Bro, why are the claims asinine, though? Why are they asinine? I'm going to tell him that. Why can't you tell him that? All right, because I'm going to tell him. Don't worry. Okay.
If you want to tell him, though, wouldn't you want to be heard so that other people can hear you?
This guy's not helping with this whole situation here. He's making things a lot worse. I know you're not doing anything wrong. I'm not trying to go against you. Bro, I'm just saying, I understand what's happening. Yeah, but he's not allowing dialogue.
Need more facts.
This is such a ridiculous dialogue that no one's furthering their minds here. Everyone has an idea. Choose what's ridiculous and what's not ridiculous. I don't choose it, That's what you're saying, though. You're saying this is ridiculous. Like, let other people think for themselves. Look, man, to call Black Lives Matter a domestic terrorist organization.
The organization are pork barreling onto other things. Okay. They're trying to destroy tons of things that aren't related.
Is the KKK a domestic terrorist organization?
Unless they actually act on it, no. Because they only express their freedom.
Are you familiar with the Red Summer? Have you ever heard of the Red Summer? I suggest you go home and just Google the Red Summer. That's all I'm going to ask you to do. I don't have to explain anything else to you. Just go home and Google Red Summer America, and you'll see if white supremacy is a terrorist
So
organization.
one specific instance defines a group. That's like saying because one person of one group does something or one instance doesn't define the group.
White supremacy in this country since day one has been terroristic. It's been domestic terrorism, okay? But it's been completely allowed by the court system because that's
All right, guys, this is live in Austin, Texas. Steven Crowder is on the scene.
What they're allowed to do once it's no longer just freedom of
What a
expression,
surprise.
They have to be reprimanded. That's how the law works. There's no systematic...
Look at the history of the law and see if the laws actually work that way. That's all I'm going to say to you. Just look at the history of the law and see if the history actually works that way. If you're interested, you could debate with them. I'm trying to. They won't let me. I've talked to a dude like 3 times about talking to him.
Summer's the period from late winter through early autumn of 1919, during which white supremacist terrorism and racial riots took place in more than 36 cities across the United States, as well as rural county in Arkansas. The Red Summer was coined by civil rights activist author James Weldon Johnson, who had been employed as a field secretary by the National Association of the Advanced Colored People, NAACP.
It worked like a charm.
Steven Crowder. Yeah, we covered the Lebanon explosion. We still have footage on it before it gets scrubbed. Whoosh. The attack in Lebanon. I wonder how much that guy gets paid an hour. You can just turn the bike off.
Flip around and find out, babe. Stay out of Austin, motherfucker. What is it? NBT 6195? Is that what that license plate is? Help me out, people.
You got an MVP 6195.
Alrighty, Floyd. We see you, bitch. We see you, bitch. Be sure to post your next location and we'll be there. Because Black Lives Matter. Fuck around and find out. Y'all want to know how to know the truth? Be out here with us when they shoot people. See it for yourself how they flip the narrative. What? I'm trying to tell you. I don't know. He's not familiar with R.A.B.
Can't wait till that battery dies.
Oh yeah? Look around and find out.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's exactly what you want, man.
Hey man, could you tell me why you feel he's a pussy?
Because he's not letting people talk, you know?
Yeah.
If he had an argument, he would turn his
Because if
music
people
down
talk,
and
they
talk,
might
but
get to the bottom of their bullshit.
Screaming and turning up
Forgive me for my cussing, but
and
that's
he's trying to
exactly what it
instigate
is.
A fight. I'm not gonna fight the guy. I mean, unless he touches me, then I'll kill him.
Yeah.
Well, I won't kill him, but I'll beat the shit out of him.
Do you feel more willing to kill protesters than other people?
No, I don't want to kill anybody. But if he touches me, I will beat his ass.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. What do you feel, man, about the Black Lives Matter protest movement?
You know, I think anybody that wants to exercise their First Amendment rights to protest is welcome to do that.
Yeah.
Once you start getting violent, once you push people, touch people, burn buildings, then you've crossed the line.
What's violence for you? Like,
Of course
what would
they're
define
afraid of
violence?
speech.
Well,
They need safe spaces for mean words that hurt them.
If you're hurting someone,
Because they've been
if you're
taught
burning
that
someone's
words can hurt you.
someone's business down, if you're blocking their access, that's not First Amendment.
Would blocking the roadway be a good reason to kill someone?
No,
because
no. you
said violence would be a good reason. I'm trying to understand.
No, but if I'm in a car and there's a group of protesters blocking my access and they're beating on my car, I'll go. I'll go.
Yeah.
I mean, just for my sake, my family's sake, keep it safe. Yeah, I'll go. I'm not hoping to kill anyone, but I will get out of the area.
Well, thank you so much. Any last comments that you'd like to say?
I've always enjoyed the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
And keep up the good work.
Just wear a mask, you ugly fucking piece of shit. Fuck around and find out, bro. I don't get triggered. I just don't. Fuck around and find out. What's my message to all of you bull-licking cocksuckers and can't just wear a mask? Have a nice day.
Hey, thank you so much, man. I'll take this.
All right, guys, so we're outside of 9th and Congress. Louder with Crowder crew was here, and he had this.
Dims are shaking trying to spin this. Absolutely. Black Lives Matter is a domestic terrorist organization. Change my mind. Oh, snap. Can't wait for that episode. So we are in Austin, Texas.
Oh, those are cute. Hey, man,
Now all we
why do you
need
feel
is
like
the
making a lot of
InfoWars
noise
truck
helps?
to show up.
Could I ask you?
The InfoWars riot truck.
Hey guys, so the individual Louder with Crowder was here. Not only did he have that Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization sign, but he also had a sign that said that Garrett Foster's death was justified.
Austin keeping it weird, LOL.
How's it going, man? Can I ask you a few questions?
Man, not right now. I mean, maybe off camera real quick, but like I'm kind of at work.
Cool. You good, man? No problem. You work with Louder with Crowder?
Yeah. Oh no, I was pointing at the table.
So Garrett Foster was I guess a Hawaiian shirt boogaloo boy, okay, and he had an AK and he was strapped and he had
I'm
Chris. I'm just watching
a handicapped African American girlfriend, and they were in the road or something like that, and this is what I know, and it could be wrong, okay, so don't come attacking me, all right? I saw a video that I heard 4 or 5 AK shots because somebody was planning to just drive through, or they were something along those lines where they were blocking the road.
Pretty much the same.
And there were 4 to 5 AK shots, and then like 4 or 5 9mm shots where Mr. Foster lost his life to the person in the car. They were also armed, and they were scared to death by the man in the road with an AK-47, and the AK-47 went off, and then the man responded with fire and killed Garrett Foster in the road.
How do you feel about Louder with Crowder's opinions on some of these subject matters?
No, that's the revolver is a different situation. Where Black Lives Matter protester had a revolver and he shot at a car that planned to drive through the crowd, and he missed the car and hit 3 protesters across the street, 3 of his own people. I'm talking about 2 different situations.
You good? Yeah. Cool.
Garrett Foster had an AK and shot 4 to 5 times, and then he was hit by the person who was driving the car with a 9mm.
Hey man, can I ask you a few questions? Do you mind? Cool.
Yeah. Me too, bro.
So you seemed pretty upset earlier, man. Evidently about the guy with the boombox. Do you feel comfortable talking a little bit about that?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Go ahead. Just tell us what you were thinking in that moment or whatever.
So, the Black Lives Matter crew, 3 people showed up here to disturb the videotaping anyways, they're the videotaping, and I just got really mad because they were just drowning out the voice. This is supposed to be a joint debate of you have one idea and somebody has a different idea, and they come together like normal people and have a discussion. But the Black Lives Matter people come out here and they just want to drown out everybody else's voice, and that's just what's happening like everywhere. It's so loud. They got to paint it all over the city. They got to blast it all. Everybody's got to put it on NBA, baseball. Everybody's got to blast it everywhere, everybody's face. But what they don't really understand is that BLM does not stand for black people at all. It stands for the Democratic Party and and Communist Party.
Truth.
They're just using it as a platform to push money straight to the Democratic Party. And whether you're a Democrat or not, I mean, it's still a bold-faced lie to say that Black Lives Matter is what it's supposed to be about.
So that's an interesting point you make, and I don't have information to refute whatever you're saying. But my question is, if the Black Lives Matter movement in some areas did really represent what it said and wasn't about the Democratic Party, what would be your opinion of Black Lives Matter?
Look, I have a mixed family. I have my father-in-law is black. Okay, I love every American person. Every single person. And of course the term Black Lives Matter is true because everybody matters. Everybody's lives matters. Lives matter, period. Okay? But when you take something like the tragedy of George Floyd's death and turn it into a political machine for political gain, that is just wrong. Yeah. It is straight wrong. And there have been tons of people that have died out here on the street, and nobody got a fucking gold casket. Not one of them. Yeah. And, you know, and their deaths were more senseless than this because it just stirred up all this unrest in the country, saying a thing at a group that represents a particular color of people when it does not do anything for that type of people. All it is dividing America in half so they can push all their dollars to the Democratic Party. I'm sorry. But people that do stand for Black lives, like for Black Americans and their livelihoods and their lives, that does matter. But these people are not for that.
So, do you feel like, you know, a lot of people that say they're Black Lives Matter, they're for the Black Lives Matter movement, say that there's a lot of racism against and police brutality against the Black community. What do you think about that?
Dude, police brutality is not the biggest issue facing the Black community. The biggest issue to the Black community is crime. That's why the police are there in the first place. And you ask anybody in the Black community if they want the police to be gone, they don't. Those people are there to protect them, the law-abiding citizens in those communities. And as soon as you take those police out of those communities, guess what's going to happen? Those people are all at risk.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this whole defund the police, all this is straight bullshit.
Yep.
Straight bullshit.
What do you feel like there's any truth that the Black community needs help in any way at any point, or what do you think? Why do you think a lot of people in the Black community are angry?
Based.
How do you think we could solve it?
Look, it's not like racism does not occur, but if you are a stand-up person that goes out for what the stands for where they believe in, they have good morals and good principles, they work hard, they go to school, you can do anything in this country, anything. And there are tons of other Black people that will tell you the same thing. It doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter where you are, who you pray to, where you come from. You come here to America, you can do anything.
Yeah.
And all of us are proof.
Yeah. So you don't think, and just the last question, man, if there's one thing right now that's wrong with America that needs to be fixed urgently, what would that be for you?
It's you know what, we are from everywhere. We're all from everywhere. But the one thing that binds us together is that we're all Americans. Yeah. We're American, and I think we're losing our identity. They are tearing down our history. Yeah. I am an American person. My family fought for this land, for this country. Okay? And for somebody to go out there and tear down our forefathers, they're spitting on every person that came before them. Yeah. Those people are un-American. The un-American people, if you don't like this country, you get the F out of here. Because my grandfathers and forefathers all fought for this country so we can all be free. So they had the privilege to talk back to the president. We all sit here and grin and bear it. They just want to disrespect everybody and all the people that are out there trying to help them. They just want to disrespect them, and you know they got their right to do that. But we need to be one people. One people. We're American. We're all American. Okay? Rioting and looting is not the way. We have to come together.
Now he may sound emotional, but that's because he's passionate about this topic, and I believe
our identity, so that we can be proud to be Americans.
Well, man. Well, thank you for your words. Any last comments? Anything you want to finish off with?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm really heated about this. I've been watching. We watch people going. All their livelihoods have been ruined. Black communities are getting overrun. All these businesses. I'm just so sick and tired of watching it and seeing it. It's like I can't be silent anymore. Yeah. I've taken enough. We've all taken enough of this garbage.
Yeah.
And I can't stand for it anymore. And I hope anybody who hears me will say the same thing. They cannot do it. You can't take it anymore. Stand up to the people that are actually oppressing us, in our voices, just like that other guy. I didn't want anybody to hear any other opinion than his.
Well, thank you so much, man. Take care, and if there's anything, let me know.
Yeah.
I can't give you guys my opinion while I'm at work, so. But
All I want to say is we thank y'all. We thank y'all. Defend the police.
What's up, man?
Sec, man. Thank you for being here, bro fist.
Defend.
What did you just talk about with the officer? You mind sharing that? Is that a problem?
I gotta go, but
Cool. No worries, man. Take care. Be
Yeah.
safe.
do what I'm told. What's going on, Hiram?
How's it going, man?
Good, man. You doing good?
Yeah, how are you?
I'm doing good. No body armor today?
No, it didn't seem necessary. I mean, it's because I heard about this last minute, so I just jumped in my car and came down here as fast as I could.
Close then. You're always down here.
Yeah, I live pretty
Is this
close.
your full-time job, like street or?
Well,
news
it's an
or
honor,
street or
Sec.
whatever?
Thank
I
you
guess
so
it's
much,
It's
everybody, for
become
being here.
recently,
Bro
a
fist, you
month
guys
ago,
rock.
A little bit over a month ago,
I think
was
each and
working
every
at a
one of you are
nonprofit, but,
awesome.
Okay, cool.
I'm so thankful to have you guys
If
with
don't
us
mind me asking,
today.
like, how do you? Is it just donations?
So
that you
thankful
work
every
off
time
of,
you
or do
guys can
get,
come
like,
hop on.
a revenue, like an ad stream?
So no. I don't monetize any of the footage I have, and then all the donations I've had so far have gone straight back to expenses
I see you bring
related to
water
the
and
stream.
stuff all the time.
For now, I'm just surviving on my savings.
Okay.
yeah, no, I'm looking for another job, or I might make this full time, right? But
Yeah, it
for
seems
now,
like, I mean, it sucks that with all this going on, is what I have, I guess gave you like a bigger following. Maybe I don't know what you had before.
yeah, no, for
but,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
Knuckle
there's a lot
love,
more people.
knuckle love, bro fist,
I don't
sister
know how you-
fist. Thank
I
you
don't know
guys.
How you monetize? Maybe you get on with like a network or something.
This
I'm
is.
thinking that I don't want to monetize off the live streams. I think that I want
I'm
to make money
Hiram.
from any
Hiram.
additional content like podcasts.
I am
or,
HIRAM on Facebook.
Doing some highlight reels and stuff. So that might be the way to go, man.
Yeah, they were waiting on Uber. I think we're good.
Cool. All right.
Man,
well,
y'all stay safe.
You too. Y'all take care.
Well, guys, I am going to be wrapping this episode up. However, I'll be back on in a little bit. I would have come back on last time. I know I came on in the daytime, and then I never came back, but I lost internet. Tiff and I have been dealing with an unbelievable amount of internet outages in our area. I have no idea what it's about. Sounds suspicious to us, but we're just going to leave it at that, just some internet outages. But everything seems to be fine today. Guys, check our links in the description. Follow us on Instagram. We're probably going to be ending this one out pretty soon, but I'm going to be coming right back on, so don't go too far. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here, guys. It's I'm here. I'm going to leave this link. I'm going to send it out to you guys, but first, go follow Riot Buddies for Life on Facebook. That's where a lot of live streams are going to be, a lot of good information, articles, and stuff like that. Here, let me drop a link to our Facebook group, because I'm going to go drop this link over in the Facebook group. Let's see.
He wants to be able to come out here, and when the guy is on a motorcycle revving it, he wants to be able to make fun of him. It's all a fucking game.
Hey, guys. Thank you so much for being here, Bro Fist.
And that's really all
I will be back. I will be back.
Wait, one last question, man. Why did they say
Covering
they shut down
whatever
this
we
function?
can. I think things are going to start heating back up. Why do I think that? Well, because things have kind of calmed down for a day or two.
A person who came here, the person that you just interviewed,
go follow,
with the brass knuckles and the
go
knife,
join
white t-shirt, I don't
Riot
know
Buddies
his
for
name, I
Life.
don't know anything about him. I don't know what his stance was exactly.
He was right behind you.
Give me just a second.
Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, well,
here's this guy's link for Facebook Live.
In someone's face, yelling.
Thank you guys
Which
for being
they're
here.
saying is free speech.
Thank you
But
for
even
being
the
here for
guy
another
who
episode of
wrote this down
Unspecified
said
Podcast
he
and
stopped
Review.
it specifically
Please remember,
because
guys,
he
we are
knew that guy
100%
had a
funded
knife
by you guys.
and that guy had been
100%.
pushing
Okay.
people and shoving
So we very much live and rely on your donations, guys. Thank you so much for everyone who has donated. We sincerely appreciate you guys. And hey, if you can't donate, that's no problem at all. Don't feel pressured. The best thing you can do is like and share the videos. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Follow us on Instagram. The links are in the description and in the comments. I truly appreciate each and every one of you guys. I will be back. I promise. I will be back. You can expect me sometime after 6 o'clock. But thank you so much, everybody, for being here. You guys are truly magnificent. I love you. Bro fist it, knuckle love, pound it, guys. We'll be back in a little while. You guys are so awesome. Thank you so much, each and every one of you, for being here. I can't wait to come back and hang out with you guys. I'll see you in a little bit. Bro fist it, pound it, pound it. I'll see you guys. Make sure to subscribe. Smash the subscribe. And ring the bell for notifications as well. Here. Sorry about this. Boom. back yet? LOL. Not yet. Brofist, everybody. John, Brofist, brother. Good to see you, Jonathan. You guys rock. We love you. We'll see you in a little bit.